Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Search, Deploy, Commit. I'm your host, Jack, and I'm here with two of my favorite Warzone players,
Oh,
probably some of the main Warzone players that I've stuck around with anyway, at least for the short time that I've been here. Jordos and Ssovietsky. Thank you guys both for being on the show and for participating in our first dual interview or conversation. So
yeah.
thank you.
Thank you too. Thank you, Ssovietsky, for
Thank
inviting me.
yes. Thank you for inviting me, Jack.
Absolutely. So yeah, and I think a big part of who we are as players, sort of revolves around the diplomatic scene inside of Warzone, and I think this is something I've noticed has been a little bit more of a focus this season for the podcast because it's something that's important to me, with Castles of Britain going on, and then also just the games that I typically like to play. So
Yeah.
it might be going a little bit that way, and that's okay. I think that's fine. So yeah, I guess I have to ask you some of the initial questions that I asked Jordos in our very first interview, but
Of
tell us a
course.
little bit about yourself and your experiences in Warzone. How did you come to find the game?
I found the game on Google Play, so
Nice.
5 years ago, and I played mostly 1v1 at the beginning. Then I discovered Diplo games, and I only play that now.
Yeah.
Nice. So you only play diplomacy games now. I mean, and it is
Yeah.
my preferred type as well to play versus competitive, where I tend to struggle. I don't know if you guys have either of you guys played competitively?
No, never. I don't know. First game that I
Not
no,
really.
no.
Okay. Yeah, no, I tried the ladders, but if you look at my ranking, I think I'm 324th. I'm pretty bad. It's not my strong suit.
I didn't
So
even try them. So
No, me neither. No, it's just I don't know. Like one of my first games was like a like it was a free for all, and like people just attacking you left and right, and everybody just jumps on the weaker player. But diplomacy just added that extra layer of depth where like the people aspect really comes into play, and who you can trust, and like having like a certain amount of rules like actually makes it a lot better. I don't know, like it's a little bit more easygoing.
yeah. And you guys have obviously played in way more games than I've played with either of you. How did you connect initially?
I just saw Sovietsky around all the fucking time.
yeah, yeah. I just
Yeah, no, we worked
see
together
a
a couple of times, I
Giorgio.
think. Like we were bordering each other and just, like good allies, I think. Yeah, no. And yeah, when you see people more around, you just automatically start working together in other Diplo games, or, there's a favor to be had here and there, and, crosses over to other games. I don't know. Yeah, it's just seeing each other around.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Did you have something special to add to that, S? Do you have a memory?
No, I, as long as I saw a Giorgio game, I joined because I like the hosting and the scenarios.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think the scenarios that he creates are quite awesome. If anybody's, new to diplomacy games inside of Warzone, definitely check out Jordos's maps. When they show up, they're definitely worth joining. He does a good job of facilitating and, creating a good story and platform to play within.
Thank you, guys. You're so fucking sweet.
So, I guess, I think, specifically some of the things we wanted to talk about a little bit inside of Warzone is with a diplomacy game, there does tend to be a little bit more of a storyline. So, like, one of the more interesting ones I think you put together, Jordos, was the cartel game,
Yeah.
which currently is set in Florida,
Yes.
which I think is kind of interesting. I don't know, S, if you got in on that one, but tell me a little bit. Yeah, tell me a little bit about, like, as far as, when you join one of these diplomacy games, maybe some tips, or how do you like to approach sort of that role-playing aspect of the game?
I like to let things happen freely, and then I like to interact in the middle, because in the beginning it's a little chaotic, so I don't tend to talk much at the beginning.
That's
But
kind of your
after,
strategy, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
the more you talk at the beginning, the quicker you die.
Just puts a target on your back. Yeah, I kind of agree
Yeah.
with that.
So you're saying, okay, so this is interesting strategy. So you're saying if anybody talks at the beginning, they're kind of, everybody's out to get them right away.
Yeah, you get more attention.
Interesting.
It kind of depends
Okay.
on what the person is saying as well, right? Like you can always spot like a newbie by by the things that he says. Like and then usually like it dies. I've definitely gotten more quiet over time, I would say. But yeah, like I also like the writing part and the role playing aspect sometimes, right? Where like in the cartel games, you call everyone hombre, and like it's funny. It's silly. I like that.
Right.
Pirate games are
Or
also a good example of that. So
yeah.
yeah, the cartel games are actually like a little bit of a soft diplo, right? Where
Yep.
you're still allowed to just stab each other in the back without any consequences. They create this whole other game, sort of like it's a different mentality, because everybody could just do whatever they want unless it's like publicly announced, but there's still like in some weird way people still play it as a diplo game, which is like I get so many, around turn 50, like he is PE, blah, 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 because he attacked me. But, like, and then they read the rules and they find out that there's not a Diplo. But for some reason, these cartel games, like, everybody just assumes that it's like a Diplo game. So it's funny to me.
Yeah, and I think, when you talk about in a Diplo game, for me, I really like to look at the maps. I think the maps are such a big part of
Yes,
Diplo
for
games
sure.
because, like you said, as if you're gonna, play this character, I think you kind of have to play off of where you're starting from or what part of the map you're on, if it's a real world map or if it's, a made up one. You just got to make up your story, right? I think the one city game, I started in like a church, so I'm like, I'm going to be a bunch of weird monks,
Exactly.
So I think like that I think is a really cool part of the role playing, and then that can actually play into how other people treat you versus, if you're from a different part of the city or from the map or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty interesting. How do you guys go about doing that when you're playing games? I mean, that's kind of what I do, but how do you guys go about deciding? Is it strictly strategy based, or do you guys just kind of have fun with it?
I have fun with it. Like, I don't sweat in these games.
No, me neither.
I just let people do their thing. Like, I don't attack people who get too big or things like that. I like joining alliance with weak people for content.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
And yeah.
And that's something you don't get to do inside of a competitive match, right? I mean, you might have a team competitive match that I've played in, but, joining up with the weaker players really can make it more fun for everybody. I think people that, like yourself, so as Ssovietsky is, you're wanting everybody to enjoy it, and especially if you have an ally that's close by that's treated you well over the course of the game.
Yeah.
You want to see them succeed. You want to enjoy making friends with them or whatever the case is.
Like the aspect, like I just like the teamwork, like setting up, like forming like a shaky alliance that turns out to be super profitable for everyone. Like I like those things, right? Where you like tackle problems together, but you need to coordinate, and like I like those things. About the role playing aspect, like when you're in the castle, you need to be the king. Like it's you need to role play as the king. You can't. Yeah, it's fun. It's a creative outlet, but the teamwork and the strategy, and then setting up something and taking the turn orders and using the order delay cards. Like it's interesting. But yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting point that you bring up is the cards. What do you guys think about, how that affects, like, what do you feel like is maybe a good example of a story or an example of a situation where somebody plays a specific card and it just fits really well with the story of what's going on inside the diplomacy game?
Yeah. So I think that, like, the more cards, the better, sort of. Also, like, high reinforcement cards, for example. Like, that's, to me, like, they should be worth something. Like, sometimes you get such a low amount for them, and it just, like, it doesn't really sway the game in a particular way. Like, for example, my Avatar games, I really like that, once an Avatar or once, somebody gets, like, this insane reinforcement card, all of a sudden, somebody can go from absolute nothing to a force to be reckoned with. And I like to sort of level out the playing field. And I noticed that now that I've joined, that 200-player feudalism game, like this guy, like he tweaked the cards a little bit, but it gives very few outlets to, like when you're in distress, right? Like you can use the right cards for the right situation, an emergency blockade, and you're able to defeat larger opponents that have way more income. So it kind of, like, it adds this layer of strategy. And I think that without the cards, are very difficult to acquire cards. Like, it gives you less strategical flexibility. Yeah.
That's interesting. Do you feel like cards can sometimes maybe, negatively affect the game, like where they're maybe too powerful? Like, I see what you're saying, Jordos, but sometimes I play some games, and maybe it's more the mixture of games that I play, but sometimes I feel like cards can sometimes ruin an experience where you just want to see the numbers.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the bomb card is too OP in my opinion.
I agree.
Like
it is pretty strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
but
think.
Overall, the like turn card, like the how do you say it? The Diplo card is great for diplomatic games, and the blockade also. They're not too OP.
No, I don't think so either. Like, people really despise the fact that, that if they roll up on somebody and he throws an emergency blockade card and it, like, triples the amount of armies there. I mean, it's just a game mechanic. Like, I think that removing them, like I said, like, less tactical flexibility, and you just become, like, higher income wins, or, you're just lucky because a player next to you just drops out and, like, he leaves all his territories gray and undefended, and it's like, it's just this lucky number game. And I like that aspect, but more of a, 50 against 50 and one of them wins. That's like that sort of luck. I think that's more appropriate than, just being lucky that a player next to you, his grandma dies and he has to leave the game for 2 weeks, right? Like, that's not, it's not skill. It's, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. That's an interesting thought. I think without cards, you're right. I mean, I think there's definitely some story or some situational experiences that are lacking if you don't have them. I think it's more just like in my mind. Sometimes it seems that, excuse me, there's some moments that that didn't seem appropriate, but I think it's because we get so used to a customized diplomacy game that we're expecting a lot more than it actually.
No, for sure.
It's just Warzone.
Sure. You play a game and then you get the reinforcement card and you're like, oh, I'm almost at the reinforcement card, and then it only gives you like 5 armies and you're like, what am I supposed to do with this? What am I supposed to do with this? Like, this doesn't know. It's just 5 extra dead bodies. Like, there's nothing.
Right.
It happens every time.
Yeah, no, I hate that.
Yes. Right. Well, the other thing I was going to ask you guys about was, the Warzone Dragons. What's it like being in that clan? I always, especially since you guys, I feel like are bigger parts of that group. I mean, there's There's over 20 people in the group, but I'm not sure how many exactly are active.
I honestly, I don't know. I like
Um,
it's like there's not a lot going on as far as I know. Like
Okay.
no, there's no coordination. To me, it's just a nice picture next to my name in game. That's the only.
at least 2 are active.
Yeah,
Okay, here we go. I got them both. Awesome. This is the whole Warzone clan. I love it. That's cool. I mean, I think, and I don't think you guys are alone in that. I think a lot of people out there maybe that are committed to being a part of a clan or were a part of a clan. Even myself, right? I mean, I'm with King, which I will post things in the chat, and it's just kind of not.
no, it's not.
There's nobody
It's not
really
meant
there.
for that. It's maybe it
Correct.
is. I don't know. Like with this idol, you see people begging for resources and money, and
Sure.
it's there. Sometimes there's a little bit of an interaction, but it like just use a Discord or a Guilded, whatever. Like it doesn't. Yeah.
Yep. Right. And we touched on I'm sort of jumping around, but I'm just sort of thinking about stuff as we're sitting here. When you talk about, role playing or these diplomacy maps or diplomacy games rather, what kinds of maps sort of stand out to you that you really enjoy as a player? What's the scenarios that tend to draw you in the most?
Westeros maps are the most are the greatest. Like it's so much role play in these games. Like you can see that in other maps, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Westeros is just so much intrigue, and obviously everybody's got their own.
Yeah.
It sets every player up the right way, and that they know what's expected.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're joining a Westeros game to.
Exactly. You're not gonna, steamroll your neighbors. It
Right.
doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Kind of like during my first podcast, we kind of touched on that, where I told you about these Viking games that I made. So I think that like what map you'd host and the title that is that you choose, like that actually draws in a certain crowd, right? So yeah, like I've like some of these games, they just fill up super slowly, and usually I try to change the name after that, like the name or
Sure.
like the Cartel Clashes, for example, like it's a cool name, you see it's a cool thing, like oh yeah, I want to role play as a cartel, it's and the Westeros games, yeah, it's just like yeah, you're a lord. I mean, behave like a lord. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, if you guys have played in any of the games that I think you say Quets, but based on my example of how I thought we should pronounce your name, S, I don't know if I'm the right person to ask about that.
Get him on the podcast, Jackie.
Determined, but yeah, he does a really good job at hosting Westeros games, and I remember my very first one, he actually messaged me. He private messaged me and said, "This is your character. This is who your lord is, and this is the situation you're in." And I imagine, he sent that to every other player, and it really just set the scene in like, okay, I know immediately who I'm a vassal to or who I'm a lord over or whatever. Yeah. And everybody kind of has an idea of what that story is. And I mean, it's so great. I mean, Jordos, every single map that you create or other maps that people create, there's so much freedom to do these kinds of things,
you can also make it as difficult as you want, sort of. Like to me, like I'm always sort of looking for like like sometimes I build a scenario and I give everybody already a set territory, but I like to like when you spawn in the Riverlands, you don't have to per se obey your liege lord, right? Like it's every man for himself, sort of. I don't know, but I like to try to make it as low effort for me. Like every game that I host, I can't be sending a whole scenario and a background for every player. Like it's it becomes way too intense for me. So I try to like people can choose their slot, and if the slot is already taken, like if you have a preferred house, you can just swap to that slot. But I don't know. I like to, I'm willing to change the slots, but that's about as far as I want to go with the whole you need to do this or you need to do that. I hosted this one Westeros game, by the way, and it was super interesting because the king gifted in the White Walkers. And like I give everyone at the beginning of the game, I give everyone already one airlift card, right? So like I already saw this scenario
Oh
build out, but
no.
like in 13 games that I've hosted, like this never happened. So to me, it was like one of the most interesting situations that I've seen so far, right? Where the king
Yeah.
the king gifts in the White Walkers, and they just have like this massive advantage. They don't need to go through the north, through the wall. They don't have to do
Oh my
any of that,
gosh.
and it's a bit of a clusterfuck. And everybody was super pissed about it.
Yeah.
But to me, like as as Dr. Frankenstein in the background, like I
Right.
fucking love that shit. Yeah, and he airlifted in, and he's steamrolling everything. He's fucking sitting on
Yeah.
King's Landing now. He has all the income, but yeah, if he sticks around, he can make it. But yeah, it's interesting.
That's pretty great. Any stories you have like that, S, and that stand out to you?
That's chaotic, maybe not, but yeah, the the zombies taking the plane is totally new for me.
Yeah.
And
Are you in that game, by the way, where that happened?
yes,
Oh, okay,
yes,
yeah.
I'm in the north.
Ah, yeah, okay, yeah, great.
Yeah,
That's pretty
Everyone was
awesome.
so bad.
I
I was so happy.
yeah. I like when there is a beef also, like fights.
Yeah,
Like it's entertaining.
yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
It's funny because, and I haven't really talked about this publicly, so I guess this is the episode. But the very first game that I joined, I think of yours, Jordos, or one of them, was a City Struggles game. Do you guys remember this?
Yeah.
When we were playing, and I got into some immediate tussles with the Happy Hippo, and I don't know if S remembers this game. Actually, I think it ended pretty recently.
Was that on the Old Town map?
Yeah, it started last year. Actually, we just passed the anniversary of its start date on the 3rd of November
game already
last
ended.
year.
Yeah, no,
It's ended, yeah. It's ended now, but I got into some very serious beef between me and
the Happy Hippo.
Their name's the Happy Hippo.
No,
yeah.
I remember. No, but he was like he also apologized at the end. Like I always scroll through the messages, and he said like I played like a bastard in this game. I'm sorry for everyone who I offended. But like his tactic was super solid. Like he just played like a bastard, and he won the game. So that's also
and
interesting.
What was super interesting about the game was we had both been like really at each other because I was publicly telling everybody he's this bully and like all this stuff, right?
He's mean to me.
Yeah, right. Well, like, and I was like, man, he's my ally. He's like, he's taking me out. He's doing all these things, and nobody would believe me. And then like I got some people to believe me, and some people didn't. But I don't think I've ever sent so many messages to people as I did in that game.
You got a little bit triggered, yeah.
I thought it was awesome.
Yeah,
I was like, what game allows these kinds of things to happen outside of maybe like a board game? But like the conversations and like trying to remember who you talk to, because shoot, if that person's allied with him, I don't want him to find out that I'm planning something. Like that game was just crazy. That game was nuts.
Yeah.
And I know, S, you were a part of that game. You were on the other side of the map, and I tried reaching out to you, and I was like...
Yeah. I remember, yes.
And Jordos, I don't even think we had connected yet, because I think somebody took you out early, or I don't know if you just didn't even
No, sometimes
compete.
I just don't feel like playing that game, and I just just gift away my troops to my nearest ally or whatever, sometimes I just leave games behind. This was to me sort of important thing to learn, because I don't need to be in every single game that I host, right? Like it would also be nice to just host games and not be in them. Just create the template and just let people run wild, right? Like that's what I like.
Right.
But yeah. like I'm kind of I've experimented with that where I've like hosted people, hosted games for people that have returned after a while or whatever,
Hmm.
but then they end up going AI and leaving the game, and I'm like, so it's, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be nice to just host games and just put the template there. Feel free to use it, or just join the game and fucking behave a little
Sure.
bit, please. Like, just be no, like, don't try to ruin everybody's day. No, but that Happy
Yeah.
Hippo guy, like that was a good game. Like, it was also fun to
Oh
watch.
yeah, and I should say that. I should say it was well played. I'm not. I don't feel like I was even that salty at the time, other than just being like, "Wow, that was a big power move by
Yeah,
him at the time." It was
but
cool.
there's this.
I mean, and that's the fun
Yeah.
part of the game,
Well,
right?
this anonymous aspect, because you also mentioned the board games. Like, what I would like to say about that is that with the board games, you usually, like, you're not playing it against complete strangers normally. So there's already this,
Mm,
like, social threats that you have with the person, sort of, So, like, you're not gonna stab your friend in the back or whatever. But, like, the thing that I like about Warzone is that it's anonymous and there's not too much, like I said, like I play it on the toilet, and that's about it, And I'm not gonna get super mad over something. It's just, it's just a game. But still, it hurts, right? When this complete stranger that you
oh
trusted, and
sure,
then they
yeah.
stab you in the back, and it's just,
Oh
like
yeah.
it's an emotion
But
to
it's
feel every once in a while.
you don't get that playing chess
No, exactly.
on your phone
No,
either,
no, exactly.
So I, that's my a confession this interview, I guess, is that was quite an epic struggle that we had that game, and it was another great example of something that kept me around, even though I ended up losing that game. It was pretty epic to see that
Yeah,
happening inside of an app on my phone.
yeah.
So
Also, it's one of the rare cases where, like, the bastard guy actually takes the game. Like, that's, like, there's like, you can tell that he's not actually a bastard, in normal
no,
life. Like,
right,
he
of
just,
course not, of
like, he
course not.
just changes his color, sort of, and he just,
Yes,
like,
yep.
just,
Everybody, and that's the fun part, I think, as you mentioned role playing, like you take on the persona, that's who you're going to be, for the
yeah.
game. So
Yeah.
I think that's pretty interesting
Uh,
part of
hey, what's
Warzone.
your take? I'm just gonna call you Sovietsky. Fuck the S, but what's your take on the Avatar
Do
games,
what you want.
Sovietsky?
Can you repeat,
The
please?
What's your take on the Avatar games? Like, tell me ways to improve that. Like, are you enjoying it, or like should I do like already a set territory that everybody starts with? Because it's this game that's like mechanically it's super hard for me to set up because I want the Avatar. I don't want everyone to get the Avatar at the same time. So it's like I'm constantly tweaking that one, and it's like one of the it's a fan favorite, I would say. One of so yeah. What's your take on it?
The Avatar game, it's on what map?
Uh, yeah, the
Uh,
Avatar one. I don't. Yeah, it's just the Avatar map with all the
uh,
tribes. You have like the Air Temples and the Fire Nation and Earth Kingdom.
yes, alright. Yes, I don't know. It's I think I only join one of
Oh,
them.
okay. Oh, okay. No, I
So,
thought you were
so
more. Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
No. Never mind then. Are you in that 200 people?
sorry.
Are you in that 200 people castle game hosted by King Eldaris? Perhaps
I was, I think, but
you got assassinated.
I,
Yeah. Okay.
yes,
So I.
I got obliterated.
So if Tadeshi ever hears this, I made such a bastard move on him in that game. Like, he was just rolling around, like being, like being honorful and stuff. But it is a free for all game, and I saw his commander completely exposed, so I just assassinated him from the game. And now everybody is coming after me because they all, like I'm the weakest wolf in the pack, so everybody's coming after me. So, yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. Like I'm thinking of just getting the premium at some point and just starting hosting these commander games because I feel like that's sort of like an aspect to my games that's not really like it's an aspect that I like, and I think it should be free after you host 100 games, but that's neither
Yeah.
here nor there. But
Now, are you a member or not?
No, but
Okay.
commanders are not free.
no,
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, so
I don't think
commanders
so.
are not free in to unless you're a member to in a hosted like match. You can play with single player, but or I think even a custom game, but not
All right.
not for
Yeah, no,
everybody. Yeah.
they're just locked behind the paywall, sort of.
Because at the Warzone page on Google Play, there is news saying that you can use
Oh no,
Commander
you know
at
what?
level.
That's I literally
No, it's fake news.
this is hilarious
news.
because I literally posted an update reaction video, and it's in the reaction video. You do not need a membership to make games with commanders
Oh,
anymore.
no way.
Oh.
See, this is me getting fucking...
I literally
yeah.
posted this. I'm supposed to be the one that knows,
Jesus.
and I completely forgot.
I'm gonna fucking look at that right now, honestly.
Yes, you can do it. You can do it, Jordos. It is now officially allowed
No
in
way.
the games.
Pfizer, bless you.
Yep.
Pfizer, bless you. Honestly. Finally.
Yeah, so I think, and that's another thing I should bring up is that the tank mod is now, obviously on this subject of what you have to pay for and what you don't have to pay for. The tank mod is basically that commander player, but in a non-commander role where you don't lose the game if you lose the tank. It's more just like a stacked character, and the mod allows you to change it so that you can use it for different roles as well. So if you want it to be a tank, or if you want it to be a different type of player, somebody I saw on the forum was like, I'm going to make some kind of League of Legends version of this game. I was like, wow, it's essentially just opens it up to allow more creation for hosts like yourself,
Yeah.
Jordos, and then obviously more fun opportunities for players like you and me.
Oh, but this is amazing. Like, yeah. So happy.
Yeah.
I love how we're like, this is incredibly conversational, and we're all just like catching up on things. And I'm realizing that I literally posted this in an episode or in a video and completely forgot.
So it's not fake news. The commanders are available.
It's not fake news. It's real. It's real.
No, this is going to be amazing.
So,
this is going to be amazing. See,
Yeah.
that's also the thing. Like every now and again, my Warzone fire just gets rekindled. Like I have like dips where I just host the games that I've already hosted, and I just do the template and whatever. I'm not really involved, but then every now and again something happens, and I'm just like back into it, and like my creativity sparks. And yeah, like I love your interviews with the map makers. Like it's super interesting to hear about their processes, and yeah. Like I've been playing on these guys' maps, and they just make it sort of pro bono, So like that to me is a very interesting aspect. And then especially like these, like the Mount Field, like all the city struggles. But like what you said with like the church, like I like it when people like spend like obsessive amounts, OCD amounts of detail on things. Like it's just, I love that.
What does your process look like when you are sort of creating that character for your games?
In roleplay?
Yeah, whether it be roleplay or just a Diplo game. Like, how do you sort of determine what is going to be part of your story?
Probably people around me. Like I kind of take their vibe and and see what I do. Like when I'm in Westeros, I play a quite arrogant lord.
Really French. You play really French.
Yes, I'm a French lord in Westeros.
Love it.
Love it.
Always French.
Exactly.
All my games are French.
I love that.
That's awesome. I was going to ask more, but I think you answered. All your games are French. Okay, that makes
without
sense.
the surrender part.
That's great. Cool. Well, I think I definitely want to ask some more questions of you, S, that I typically ask some of these other players in the game. Especially as far as what is it about Warzone that you'd maybe like to see improved? I mean, obviously we talked about some of the mods that are just newly come to the game, but some players that aren't paying for membership don't have access to those, and so on and so forth. So, what are kind of, your thoughts on things that you'd like to see improved, or even maybe since you have Jordos on this call, what would you like to see in a hosted game, right?
Tell me.
In the game, it would be good to have more chat rooms. Like we have team chat, private
Yep.
chat, and like that. But because everything is compacted, like the roleplay, the declaration, the alliance, and the fight between people are in the main chat, so it's difficult to read all
Yes,
that.
I agree.
It would be good to have more chat room.
Yeah.
I see what
Yeah.
you're
Like
saying.
a-
So like a chat for alliance announcements, and then a chat for each
Yeah.
specific different. Okay, yeah, that
Or
makes
like
sense.
where you're able to whisper or yell, for example, in a chat where everyone can read it or nobody can read it, or just the players around you can read it. Like that would be a nice
Ooh.
function. Also, doesn't seem to me like it's super hard to implement that sort of thing, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I wonder if some of this, I think one thing I was thinking about the other day is how much, if you can go back and look at any game from almost any player, like where does all that data get stored? And then you can even go back and look at the chat for all
Yeah.
of that, right? So maybe it's a matter of storing all of that data or adding all of those things, but at the same time, I don't know. I'm not the
No, me
computer
neither.
whiz.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely room to improve, but then again, like if you make it too aerodynamic, I think that also takes away some of the charm. Maybe.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. There's just like trying to coordinate between like in an in-game alliance, and you have like the Scottish lords, whatever, and you need to send them all a personal message, and it just becomes
Yeah,
a fucking
that's
mess
true.
where you're just responding to 6 different people, and it's just I don't know.
Yeah.
So Tedeschi and me, we
Yeah,
were
that's a good
actually
point.
allies in that game, and I stabbed him in the back. But he asked me to be in an alliance with him in the first round. And 20 turns later, I just fucking forgot, and I saw his commander, so I just assassinated him. He was like, "Dude, you were my ally." I'm like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, classic Warzone moment.
Classic.
That's awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, thank you guys so much for being on here. I guess, I have one more question for you. What is it about Warzone that really, keeps you coming back? I think we've talked about a lot of things, but maybe if there was one thing you had to pick specifically that keeps you playing Warzone, what would you say it is?
People. Like I like the people. I like interacting with people, and every time it's new, and well, it's social on the internet, so so yeah, I like interacting with people, doing role play, and new games with new innovation, new games. Every time is different. I like very much this aspect of the game.
Fully agree.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, and I think Jordos and I would echo a lot of those same statements, and we've as we have in the past.
I heard everyone say that almost. Like in all your podcasts, like I almost heard everyone say like the community. Like I love the community.
Mm-hmm.
Like they keep coming back.
It's a great community.
And I mean, I think, even just this conversation, the three of us are all in on this call from all different parts of the world. And just that fact alone, I think, has been really great. And so thank you guys for participating and being a part of that community.
Bless you.
Being on this call. I think this is a great time, and hopefully a great experience for everybody else that gets to listen to our ramblings and our thoughts. But I think the Diplo community will appreciate this conversation.
Hey,
so.
Jack, can I ask you something? Like
Sure.
now that you've sort of reached the top, like what's your plan for the podcast further? Like who are you gonna? Like, what are you?
I think some of the future things that are coming for the podcast are I want to continue the Castles of Britain. I think that's something that is really important to me just personally. I want to create that game. Like it's this big lofty goal, and I said maybe I should start smaller, but I'm
Nah,
like,
fuck
no,
it.
I'm just going to go for
Go
the
big
big
or
one.
go home. Yeah.
And then I think beyond the Castles of Britain is, believe it or not, I'm really wanting to help promote the competitive side of
Mm-hmm.
Warzone, because I think there is a big majority of players on Warzone that participate in that, and I've seen the passion and the zeal just from interviewing some of these players, and I want to create some level of a ESPN or sort of a ongoing update essentially for the players that are a part of that
Yeah.
group to make sure they stay excited and to make sure that what we love about Warzone continues. So I enjoy creating. I think that's probably what you'll see more of in the next year. But I don't think I'll ever stop having these conversations, because talking with you guys is just so
Beautiful.
great.
Likewise.
So expect more interviews. Expect always more interviews, because this is, I think, the bread and butter. This is what I enjoy the most. Just talking to you guys from all over, all these players from all over the world.
Yeah.
It's great. So
Very nice.
Yeah.
well, thank you guys both for being here. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.